Yo, yo, yo! Welcome to the Sports Buzz. This is Jesse Newell, alongside as always my Michael, the man, the myth, the legend, Ashford. Mike, say hi to everybody out there.
You're throwing me off there with the new intro, but hello everybody, this is the high school edition, and we got a lot to talk about again, so let's get into it, Jesse.
I thought you were a little Randy Jackson on you. Yo, 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 man, that was alright, that was alright. A little pitchy.
You didn't call me your dog, though.
A little pitchy in spots for me, but you know, it was alright. I thought you did a good job.
Well, this is going downhill already.
Let's get to high school stuff. That's really what you came for, I hope, I think. Not my Randy Jackson impersonations, but Mike, let's talk about Emporia High to start off with, both the boys and the girls. This is sub-state time. This is the time of the year where I guess the goal is state, and I gotta tell you, Mike, looking at these brackets, the path looks pretty clear for both the Lady Spartans and the Spartans. Let's start with the Lady Spartans, who are in a number 2 seed in their sub-state. Looks like they have a great shot at making state this year.
Yeah, they have a great shot, and I would expect them to go to state. You know, 16-4 on the season, and have been ranked in the top 3 in Class 5A all year long, and have the benefit of not having to play the number 1 seed Bishop Carroll. They're on the other side of the bracket, and the sub-state bracket champions don't play each other in 5A, so. You know, the Lady Spartans look to have a nice path to, you know, possibly making the state tournament. You know, they played Topeka West, a team that they've just dominated already this year as the Centennial League opponent. And then probably going to match up in Wichita with Cape and Mount Carmel. Going to be at Bishop Carroll's home gym, but not going to have to play Bishop Carroll there. So, you know, I would suspect in Cape and Mount Carmel, I believe it's 14-7. So I would look for the Lady Spartans to make it to sub-state like I have thought they might all year long, regardless of where they were going to play.
You talk about playing in Wichita, maybe an advantage for Cape and Mount Carmel. We were talking about this a little bit earlier. You would expect that maybe from a boys' game. From the girls' side, you have to drive across the town. Maybe not as much interest there in a team that's 14-7. So I know Coach Knight said this a lot. You know, in girls' games, the home court advantage usually isn't that much, except when you go play at Shawnee Heights. That game was absolutely crazy.
That was outstanding.
I wouldn't look for this game to be too much of a home court advantage for Cape and Mount Carmel, even if it is closer to home for them.
Well, and simply put, I just think the Lady Spartans are better than Cape and Mount Carmel. And when you look at last year, Emporia playing Bishop Carroll in its home gymnasium and getting that win there in one of the more remarkable wins I've ever seen, I would suspect that this Lady Spartan team goes on the road and gets the job done. First things first, obviously Topeka West at home on Thursday night, but I look for the Lady Spartans to advance to state.
Let's flip to the boys, and nothing against the boys team. 11-9, that's a good year, but this is Exhibit A as to what is wrong with high school athletics in the KSHSAA right now, because the Emporia High boys with an 11-9 record are the number 1 seed in their regional. Mike, tell me how this happens.
Well, it happens just because the sub-state that they got stuck in, or if you want to say stuck in for the Emporia High boys, it looks pretty good, but you know, the sub-state that they got put in has just a lot of bad teams in it, and you know, they open up sub-state play with 1-19 Wichita West, and you know, that, you know, I don't want to put any, you know, any burden on the Emporia High boys, but you know, you got to win that game. They're going to win that game. It's at home Wednesday night, and then you know, your path, you might have to get through a team with 8 or 9 wins just to make it to state. I mean, that sets up perfectly for the Emporia High boys. State obviously is going to be a different factor there. They'll probably go in as one of the lower seeds, but I would look for the Spartans to also make a run to the state tournament, simply because that sub-state, I'm not going to pull any punches here, it's bad. It's a bad sub-state.
It's kind of crazy with this up and this down as the season has been the highs and the lows. It was highs for most of the middle of the season, lows lately, and the Spartans have got to be favored to move on to state here, Mike. I would say consistency is the key with them. I mean, if they just play pretty consistent in sub-state and consistently well, not too many peaks and valleys, like you said, they should coast on into the state tournament.
Absolutely. I mean, Bishop Carroll is the number 2 seed on the boys' side, and Bishop Carroll's 11-9, and you know, the Emporia High boys, if they make it past Wichita West, won't have to face Bishop Carroll, and Bishop Carroll's supposedly the 2nd team in that sub-state. So I would certainly look for, if the Spartans just play how they did in the middle of the season when they rattled off 5 straight wins, I would suspect that this team makes it to state easily. And you know, if the Spartans can maintain that and play like they did during that 5-game stretch and carry that over into the state tournament, it can make a little bit of noise there. I mean, 5A outside of Highland Park is not overly, you know, just dominant. I mean, yes, there are teams like Shawnee Heights who I would suspect maybe makes a run to get to the state tournament, but Highland Park's obviously the class, and then it's who wants to pick up the remainder of the pieces there.
Let's go from a preview to a recap. Mike, we had state wrestling this last week. Emporia High takes 6th place. I know 3 second-place finishes for the boys in their title matches, but really that's not as bad as it sounds when you consider some of the competition they faced once they got there.
Well, 5A was just so absolutely dominating this year. The best teams in the state were in 5A. Outside of Goddard in 6A, I think the 5A teams were just outstanding. Mark Colmer, Sal Tovar, and Josh Rodriguez all make it to the championship bouts of their weight classes and face 3 undefeated defending state champions, 3 of the best wrestlers in the United States. I mean, we're not just talking about the state here. When they were listing off these guys' accomplishments, these guys have won national meets. They're ranked in the top 5 nationally. They've signed with colleges already, such as Nebraska and Minnesota. I mean, these guys are some of the best wrestlers the state of Kansas has ever seen. Sal Tovar loses to Bishop Carroll's John Keller. Mark Colmer loses to Hutchison's Romero Cotton. And Josh Rodriguez loses to Shawnee Heights' Atticus Disney. I asked after the tournament to Greg Buckby, I asked, are there moral victories there? And even though they kind of, put that off to the side, just getting to the state tournament, the state title bouts, and facing those opponents, and at times, holding their own, that's got to be some source of pride for those guys, because 5A was just so unbelievably loaded this year.
And we talked a little bit about this, Mike. Next year looks to be a real big year for Emporia Wrestling, because some of those big seniors move on. You got a chance to maybe win some of those title bouts. Plus, you got a lot of young kids coming back.
The only senior who made it to state this year, who will graduate this next year, is Josh Rodriguez at that 285. And I'd like to point out that actually Ryan Bass also, I don't want to miss him out. He made it at 215, but he lost both matches on Friday, so he didn't quite advance. But I also want to point out that Lorenzo Cerna wrestled at 285 for a long time, while Josh Rodriguez was sitting out early in the season and did really well. And so he's back next year. You've got Sal Tovar back, Justin Rose, who placed 3rd. You've got Mark Colmer back, who will be a junior, who will by far and away, I think, be the #1 ranked wrestler at 189 pounds. You've got Jared Dakin, you've got Tavo Dakin, you've got Chase Sanchez, who was a freshman this year who didn't make it, who was kind of a surprise to not make it to the state meet, but Zeb Peak, Logan Gaskell, the list goes on and on of guys who are returning next year for the Spartans. I would suspect, based on what Bishop Carroll loses, based on what Arkansas City loses, the Spartans could be right up there for a preseason #1 ranking, and a lot of guys at the top of their weight classes.
Well, let's talk real quick. I know we're running out of time here, but Olpe, both boys and girls advanced to sub-state play coming up against next week, Auditorium. Do you expect them to go to the state tournament?
I would easily expect the Olpe girls to make it through there. I mean, they're obviously the #1 seed, 23-0. I'd probably look for the Olpe boys to make it too. 21-2 and being the #2 seed. For some reason, there's a 17-16. 17-6, I think it might be.
Gossel, yeah.
Gossel in there, who is the #1 seeded team. I don't know why, but I would suspect home court advantage of Emporia's Wide Auditorium. I would suspect both those teams make it. I'd also look for the Northern Heights boys to get out of the Wellsville sub-state and make it to the state tournament there. Lebo boys are actually ranked #1 in their sub-state at Alma Wabansi, so there's some opportunities here for some area teams to make some nice runs into the postseason.
Postseason play, it's where we find out what everybody's all about here.
Absolutely. Those records we were talking about earlier this year, those rankings don't mean anything right now. I know I was harping on Northern Heights being ranked this year and stuff like that. Emporia High girls have been ranked all year long. Doesn't matter now. Just win your 2 games and get to that state tournament.
Just win, baby. That's what Al Davis says.
That's all that matters.
I think that's all we got for this week. For Jesse Newell, Gazette sports reporter, and Michael, the man, the myth, the legend, Ashford, we're going to sign off for the Emporia Sports Buzz. Before we go, Mike, my boy, got some advice for the kids out there?
Thursday night, the Emporia High girls start out sub-state play with Topeka West. It'd be nice to see a big crowd there for this team. I mean, this team is a special team already. I would like to see a big crowd there to maybe propel this team into state, because 5A is just down enough, maybe a little bit, and Emporia is just good enough that they can make a serious run at the state title this year.
Meet us at Emporia High.
There you go. That's all I needed to say.
All right, we'll see you guys next week.
Bye.